Hello, good morning, and welcome to Bill Riccardi's Weekly Patreon Update. My name, of course, is Bill Riccardi, and I'm the creator and purveyor of fantasy novels. What's going on this week? Well, beta is well underway for A Falconer's Guide to Dying. We'll talk a little bit about that, and how the resting period is about to end, and I'm about to jump back into that process. We will talk about the revamp that I did to My Foxy Boyfriend and where that's going, what kind of changes I made to that, and who is reviewing that right now. And finally, we will speak of the weekend and what's happening there. It's a working weekend, so we've got some things to do. Now, start. A Falconer's Guide to Dying is now in its second week of beta. The two primary beta readers, Tim and Ian, who have beta read all of my Panos books from the very beginning, they are hard at work slogging away through it. One of them has already done a full read through. The other is most of the way through, I believe. So, yeah, we're working on kind of that final technical feedback, and now I'm going to leap back into the process to get into the artistic feedback. Now, there might be some additional changes that need to be made to the book before it hits the open beta period. The open beta period is, of course, when both my patrons as well as my fans from the mailing list, the super fans, can all get involved in the process. But before that happens, I want to make sure it's nice and clean. I'll have an announcement, I believe, on November 4th as to when that happens. Depending on how much I need to change it, I may push back release to the first week of December rather than the last week of November, just to be safe, really. I could probably get everything done, but I want to get the advertising in place. I want everything to be perfect. You know, while I have time to work on the cover, etc., etc. So, yes, what we're looking at today, actually, is the end of my rest period. It's not a period of me personally resting. That would be too, insane for me. No, it's a period where I put the book aside so that I'm not as emotionally involved when I receive critiques. Now, there's already a 2,000-plus word critique of the book from one of my beta readers, talking about various things that need to happen in order to maintain reader engagement, etc., etc. This might mean a heck of a lot more writing. This might mean cutting entire scenes. It just depends on, what my interaction is with that feedback. So, with all that in mind, understand that I'm shooting for late November, but if I have to get pretty heavily into edits, it may be an additional week. Definitely a pre-Christmas release. Don't worry about that. My vacation, comes up the third week of December, and I want to be completely done by then. So that's what's going on there. Now, why My Foxy Boyfriend? Why does this silly little short story come up? Well, I have someone who might be interested in publishing it. And she and her team have come back with some valid critiques, I'd say, as to the level of engagement I'll get from the audience and the kind of broadness of engagement that I'll get from the audience without a more personalized antagonist. So the antagonist in the original story was kind of more nebulous. It was prejudice. It was keeping secrets in a non-secretive society, that sort of thing, which led to interruptions in the romance, misunderstandings between the characters, etc., etc. And that's great. That's all still in there. But since the book was fairly short anyway, she suggested, hey, why not add a subplot where you have an actual antagonist to focus on? And so I did. And the minor character Stan became a much more major character as far as the impediments that he put forth in Olivia's life and in Red's life. So Stan has stepped forward to, be the bad guy here. That plucking you hear is, of course, Loki, who is not featured in the book. Sadly. He'd be a great antagonist. Don't get me wrong. So yes, major revamp. I want to say that we've added nearly 8,000 words to the story in order to get this sub theme in, and I'm probably going to add more. It just depends on whether the market that she and her team are looking at wants something over 50,000 or under 50,000 words for a short novel. We'll see what the feedback is there, and then I'll adjust as needed. So I'm not sure what the timeline is for that, whether or not they're going to accept the final product. That's all up in the air, but that's something else I've been doing while this emotional rest period has been expiring for the beta period for the Panos novel. Finally, what's going on this weekend? Well, it's a working weekend, as I mentioned. I have several things to do. The creator of the Bhooks website, that's Bhooks, Books, for which I did the voiceover for the advertising, and he's a friend of mine, and we're working together to make his launch the best possible, which comes later next month. I am doing some beta testing for that, and I'm going to go hardcore on that. So I'll be going to every document, every link, and making sure that everything is logical, and it works, and that any sort of demo that is presented, works and shows off the right features for the Books website. Books, I think, is going to be great, but as with any internet startup, you never know. It could hit huge, it could, fizzle. And the owner already knows this, so he's willing to take the chance. He wants me to beta test it. I said I would gladly do so, and yeah, we'll see what happens there. That's about it. I will leave you to whatever weather you have over here in Belfast. It is starting to freeze, quite literally. The frost is starting to appear everywhere. It's not too early for that to be happening. It's about the right season, but it's going to be bitterly cold this year, I'll tell you that much. It's in the air. You can just smell it. So there you go. Everyone have a wonderful and safe and warm weekend if you're in a cold place, and a cool weekend if you're in a too hot place. And we'll talk to you next week. Cheers.